What's going on, gang? It's Young Bull here. Just a little PSA announcement. Just want to let you guys know the last few videos have been coming out a little late because I've been bedridden with COVID, unfortunately, and my Wi-Fi gave out. I was having a lot of issues, but I'm gonna start putting up these videos a lot sooner now. I'm good to go. Videos are gonna start coming out more recently, more relevant when the relevancy is actually still there. So stay tuned, and let's get to the video. What is good, Young Bull Nation and OG Nation? I ain't forget about y'all. Don't worry.
What's good, y'all? We in the building for another episode. We just chatting today. Got a lot of action going on. The playoffs is heating up. The Western Conference Finals is actually already set. The Eastern Conference Finals got 2 Game 7s coming up, so the playoffs is in full swing, and we got some like NBA news, off season, this kind of stuff happening. So we wanted to check in with y'all, give y'all our thoughts and opinions on what's going on. Young Bull, how you feeling?
I'm a little sick, so but I'm good.
That's what's up. All right, so we're going to get right to it, as per usual. Jumping with the NBA news type stuff first. So, it's been a trend in the NBA recently. It's been a lot of coaching carousels. You see a lot of coaches going in and out. We already are up to 7 open positions right now in the NBA, coaching-wise. So, just want to jump and talk about that a little bit. I'm going to run off the list of teams that have coaching vacancies, and we're going to talk about which vacancy we think is the most intriguing and why, and we're going to talk about what coach we think should go there, or which coach we think would maximize that situation. So just so y'all know, and just so the record shows, the 7 teams that have coaching vacancies are Indiana Pacers, Boston Celtics, Orlando Magic, Portland Trail Blazers, Dallas Mavericks, New Orleans Pelicans, and the Washington Wizards. Very, different teams, very interesting teams on that list.
I didn't even hear about half of those.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Half of those, and then you got to think because a lot of them were amicable departures. Like Scott Brooks and the Wizards did the agreed to part ways. Same thing Terry Stotts did with the Blazers. Yeah. So when they do that, it's kind of not as inflammatory, so the news cycle doesn't push it as much. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
But I'll jump in first, what I think. Obviously, you got to talk about Portland and Dallas because they have the 2 major superstars. I mean, Boston has a major superstar in Tatum, but Luka and Lillard have been in the news a lot this offseason as far as talk about whether they're going to want to stay with these franchises long term based on building and based on what's being put around them. So you got to look at those 2 teams and think that they're very intriguing. It's for any coach to want to go there, first of all, because you're getting a high-level superstar, and you're probably getting the chance to kind of re-image the team in your site, like what you think is going to fit. But I think everybody talks about that, and I think we're going to both talk a little bit about the Celtics, especially because they got a lot going on there with Brad Stevens moving around. But the one team I want to talk about more so is the Pacers, just because I don't think a lot of people talking about it. I think it's a very interesting job because the Pacers have a pretty decent core. You got to make a decision on it. Is that the core you want to go with, or do you keep a piece or 2 and try to maneuver and start retooling that team? Miles Turner is a name that people are talking about trading for. Malcolm Brogdon is a name people are talking about trading for. You got Sabonis, who's just an all-star. You got LeVert, who, when healthy, is a good basketball player. You got TJ Warren, who was averaging 20-plus last year, who's coming back. You got a lot of, pieces there, and it's what you going to do and who you're going to move. And I don't really know what coach I think would go there, but I think that they should focus on trying to build around Sabonis and probably Brogdon. I'm probably trying to move Miles Turner to get some assets. Kerry LeVert is a player that you could also get assets for, and you just don't know which you can count on him that much with the injury. I would think if I was them, I would be trying to take those 2 pieces between Brogdon and Sabonis and seeing what I can mortgage around that. But who you looking at, young boy? What teams you looking at? Who you think is interesting out there, coaching vacancy wise?
I didn't even hear about half of these teams. I didn't know the Mavericks got rid of their coach.
Yeah, Rick Carlisle. That was actually a day ago.
Surprising, because he's been there forever.
Yeah, 13 years, and he brought them to the only championship.
I mean, probably the Pelicans, because out of all these teams, besides probably the Celtics, they have the most talent potential-wise. They got Zion, they got Brandon Ingram, they got Lonzo. They have a lot of trade assets. You could do a lot of stuff with that team. You could trade Lonzo, you can keep everybody. I mean, yeah, you can basically do whatever you want there. And they're like a big disappointment. And Van Gundy was not the move.
Van Gundy wasn't the move.
He was not the move. I never liked him as a coach.
Especially for a young team like that.
Yeah.
He's a veteran, like old school type of coach. Like
and they have no defense, and he's a defensive coach, and they're young. Young guys don't really have that defensive mind yet. So there's reports of Zion not being happy. It's only 2 years, and I think that's bullshit. But they definitely should bring in somebody and keep that team together, because that young core, just Ingram and Zion alone, them two, you keep them together for a long time, and that's potentially a championship squad right there.
Yep. And that's the thing, like if Zion ends up moving, you basically got to blow it all up at that point. You're probably at that point to start over.
Probably build around.
The interesting thing about New Orleans is there was a poll out there between NBA executives. Like they got to submit their answer anonymously on which franchise they thought most likely to be like move out of their city in the next 5 to 10 years. And New Orleans was the team that got voted most for. Their attendance is down, and when you just look like Chris Paul, AD, and I mean, granted, like you said, it's only 2 years for Zion, but you got these like supreme level superstars coming through, and you just haven't really been finding a way to create. The city's gonna get tired of it and stop investing in it. You gotta, do something to get them excited again.
But New Orleans got good fans. They got
very, very passionate fan base in New Orleans. Definitely.
They're not gonna move the city.
Definitely a passionate fan base. But listen, so is Seattle. And they took it from Seattle for Oklahoma City. Sometimes it just
but now look, Oklahoma City now has one of the best fan bases for all the NBA. So
it definitely does. That's what I'm saying. You never know how it plays out.
Yep.
But all right, before we move on out of the coaches, the Celtics, we just got to touch on it briefly. Brad Stevens, and this is going to play into the next topic. So it's kind of a transition. Brad Stevens out as the Celtics head coach, but in as the new GM, president of operations kind of role. He's taking Danny Ainge's seat, as Danny Ainge has moved away from the franchise. So not only does Boston have a coaching vacancy, but now they have a new man at the helm pulling the trigger, making the calls as far as building the franchise. And Brad Stevens is a younger-minded guy, different perspective than Danny Ainge. So you're going to see a different built type of team. And to move it right into the next topic, Brad Stevens has already made a big-time move, trading Kemba Walker to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the trade goes down like this. The Thunder get Kemba Walker, the Celtics 16th draft pick in 2021, a 2025 second round pick. The Celtics get Al Horford, Moses Brown, and a 2023 second round pick. The way I boil it down is the Celtics gave up Kemba and a first to get Al Horford because the 2 second rounds wash out and Moses Brown is a throw-in. Like, he's just a name on there. Like, they wanted to get rid of, they paid to get rid of Kemba. Like, Brad Stevens paid to get rid of Kemba. Like, he attached the pick to Kemba Walker to get rid of him. And I don't think that's a knock on Kemba's talent. Like, Kemba's that bad of a player. I think that's speaking volumes as to why this Boston team hasn't reached the level of success people thought they were going to. Clearly, there were some issues there. We're not even through the playoffs yet, and he felt the need to get Kemba out the door that fast. The man just got control of the team, and within the week, Kemba is gone with a first-round pick attached to him. Like, he wanted that man out the door. clearly there was some issues between those two, and that played into this. What you think about it?
Well, first off, I was kind of upset about the Brad Stevens move because he's, in my eyes, top 5 coach in the league. But now that I think about it, he might have saved his job because the Celtics were struggling for last year and this year. Well, last year they weren't struggling, but they had a run. They didn't make the run they wanted. This year they struggled. I mean, if they had another bad year, maybe he was out the door. So he kind of locked up his job a little bit by getting promoted.
Mm-hmm.
But this trade might ruin that. This trade is horrible in my eyes. I think they just basically just gave Kemba away. And on top of it, they said, I'm going to just throw you my fucking first round pick. Everything that we just struggled for this year means nothing now. I mean, 16th overall pick, you could still get an all-star caliber player there. I mean, for Al Horford, a player that you already had, and
clearly he loved Al. Clearly he had to have Al back.
Hey, don't get me wrong. He was a great fit for the Celtics, and he was trash every year he left the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Al Horford's career is already at the end, and we already know what he is. He's not gonna make another All-Star appearance. He's done with all that. He's just a role player guy now. You could have traded Kemba to like a contender or even the Lakers. I bet LeBron would have given him the whole ship for him.
Well, yeah. He definitely would have gave up Schroeder. They could have signed and traded Schroeder. They could have.
I'm not saying I really wanted Kemba because I don't think I want to pick up that contract, and he's always injured.
Yep, that's my thing with Kemba. I'm worried about the injuries.
Yeah, and Horford himself has a big contract still, right? Is he still on that big contract? So it's like, this trade just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe Moses Brown is somehow going to turn into a star. I don't know. But
that's what I'm saying. There had to be internal turmoil there. It just had to be like that.
Kemba was I think Kemba really was the one that wanted to go because he was like a top point guard in Charlotte. He left to just become a contender, make a ring run. Didn't get that, and now he's going sent to another trash team or a team that's not a contender, basically, and he's gonna have to. He's basically, I mean, my opinion is I think that OKC is going to use Kemba, trade him, because they just love trading. They got that first round pick for free. I think they're going to trade him for way better value than the Celtics traded him for, and they're going to look very, very dumb.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Celtics, who Brad Stevens hires to be the coach, and how they continue to build this team now without a draft pick. And now you're down a point guard. You add a center, but I don't see how it helps your team, like on the whole, where you gave up 2 assets. You don't have a starting point guard now, and now you also don't have a first round pick to supplement. So you're basically counting on the fact that you're the Boston Celtics and hoping somebody just wants to come play for you, because that's really it. But as far as the Brad Stevens thing, the last thing I'm going to add, he was getting a lot of offers to go back to college, and I think that this was low-key in the works under the table for a while, that Danny Ainge was getting ready to step down or just wanted to move away from the Celtics. You know, he's been there a long time, and sometimes you just need that fresh start to get the franchise going again. And I think because Brad Stevens turned down some big contracts from college, and I think he's probably at a point where he doesn't want to travel as much. He does have kids and stuff. And as a GM or as a college coach, you're not moving around the country as much as you are as an NBA coach. As an NBA coach, you're hitting city to city, 4 or 5 cities a week when you're on a road trip. So I think that was just in the works for a while, and like that's why he got moved up. He gets, kind of the best of both worlds. But be interested to see what happens with the Celtics and all those other coaching decisions once they're locked in and we get some new names and new coaches. We will be back in comments on how we think it plays out.
But Sam Presti needs an award, bro. That man.
Yeah, Sam Presti definitely, listen.
He's up there with Pat Riley of like the geniuses. I don't understand what he does, but he must do some under the table work to he just traded Al Horford for Kemba Walker and a first round pick. This is just robbery.
Top 20, one pick out the top 15. One pick outside the top 15. Like it's not even like a 30th pick. Like it's a good pick. Like it's a good pick. Man has 16 first-round picks over the next
I feel
3
like this
years.
is blackmail almost. Like,
3 or 4 years. He has like 16 first-round picks over the next 3 or 4 years. It's crazy. And I'm very interested to see what he does with them. I think the
oh
Thunder
yeah.
are gonna look a lot different. It's very
focus. My mind's on top, but they don't notice. When you get your chance, you cannot blow it. When the tables turn, you know we hustle and burn. You better take what you learn and put it to use. Success is never confirmed. Better take what you earn. Don't leave that shit for the birds, or else you prepare to lose. Yeah, I don't care about yourself, and it really shows. My weed is so potent from the way that it grows. Maybe you hate it should go because I'm trying to be a goat.